can't imagine why that would be frustrating at all. Just because someone refuses to tell you what they're thinking. Even if all the while they're making cryptic little remarks specifically designed to keep you up at night wondering what they could possibly mean. Now why would that be frustrating, he grimaced. Or better, I continued, the pent-up annoyance flowing freely now. Say that person also did a wide range of bizarre things, from saving your life under impossible circumstances one day, to treating you like a pariah the next, and he never explained any of that either, even after he promised. That also would be very non-frustrating. You've got a bit of a temper, don't you? I don't like double standards. We stared at each other unsmiling. He glanced over my shoulder, and then, unexpectedly, he snickered. What? Your boyfriend seems to think I'm being unpleasant to you. He's debating whether or not to come break up our fight. He snickered again. I don't know who you're talking about, I said frostily, but I'm sure you're wrong anyway. I'm not. I told you most people are easy to read. Except me, of course. Yes, except for you. His mood shifted suddenly. His eyes turned brooding. I wonder why that is. I had to look away from the intensity of his stare. I concentrated on unscrewing the lid of my lemonade. I took a swig, staring at the table without seeing it. Aren't you hungry? He asked, distracted. No. I didn't feel like mentioning that my stomach was already full of butterflies. You? I looked at the empty table in front of him. No, I'm not hungry. I didn't understand his expression. It looked like he was enjoying some private joke. Can you do me a favour? I asked after a second of hesitation. He was suddenly wary. That depends on what you want. It's not much, I assured him. He waited, guarded but curious. I just wondered if you could warn me beforehand the next time you decide to ignore me for my own good, just so I'm prepared. I looked at the lemonade bottle as I spoke, tracing the circle of the opening with my pinky finger. That sounds fair. He was pressing his lips together to keep from laughing when I looked up. Thanks. Then can I have one answer in return? He demanded. One. Tell me one theory. Whoops. Not that one. You didn't qualify, you just promised one answer, he reminded me. And you've broken promises yourself, I reminded him back. Just one theory. I won't laugh. Yes, you will. I was positive that. He looked down, and then glanced up at me through his long black lashes, his ochre eyes scorching. Please, he breathed, leaning toward me. I blinked, my mind going blank. Holy crow, how did he do that? What? I asked, dazed. Please tell me just one little theory. His eyes still smouldered at me. Well, bitten by a radioactive spider? Was he a hypnotist too? Or was I just a hopeless pushover? That's not very creative, he scoffed. I'm sorry, that's all I've got, I said, miffed. You're not even close, he teased. No spiders? Nope. And no radioactivity? None. Dang, I sighed. Kryptonite doesn't bother me either, he chuckled. You're not supposed to laugh. Remember? He struggled to compose his face. I'll figure it out eventually, I warned him. I wish you wouldn't try. He was serious again. Because what if I'm not a superhero? What if I'm the bad guy? He smiled playfully, but his eyes were...
If my pants turn brown, run, type beat, bro.
Penetrable. Oh, I said, as several things he'd hinted fell suddenly into place. I see. Do you? His face was abruptly severe, as if he were afraid that he'd accidentally said too much. You're dangerous, I guessed, my pulse quickening as I intuitively realized the truth of my own words. He was dangerous. He'd been trying to tell me that all along. He just looked at me, eyes full of some emotion I couldn't comprehend. Not bad, I whispered, shaking my head. No, I don't believe that you're bad. You're wrong. His voice was almost inaudible. He looked down, and stealing my bottle lid and spinning it on its side between his fingers. I stared at him, wondering why I didn't feel afraid. He meant what he was saying. That was obvious. But I just felt anxious, on edge, and, more than anything else, fascinated. The same way I always felt when I was near him. The silence lasted until I noticed that the cafeteria was almost empty. I jumped to my feet. We're going to be late. I'm not going to class today, he said, twirling the lid so fast it was just a blur. Why not? It's healthy to ditch class now and then. He smiled up at me, but his eyes were still troubled. Well, I'm going, I told him. I was far too big a coward to risk getting caught. He turned his attention back to his makeshift top. I'll see you later then. I hesitated, torn. But then the first bell sent me hurrying out the door, with a last glance confirming that he hadn't moved a centimetre. As I half ran to class, my head was spinning faster than the bottle cap. So few questions had been answered.
So I shouldn't punish on that one.
In comparison to how many new questions had been raised. At least the rain had stopped. I was lucky. Mr. Banner wasn't in the room yet when I arrived. I settled quickly into my seat, aware that both Mike and Angela were staring at me. Mike looked resentful, Angela looked surprised and slightly awed. Mr. Banner came in the room then, calling the class to order. He was juggling a few small cardboard boxes in his arms. He put them down on Mike's table, telling him to start passing them around the class. Okay, guys, I want you all to take one piece from each box, he said, as he produced a pair of rubber gloves from the pocket of his lab jacket and pulled them on. The sharp sound as the gloves snapped into place against his wrists seemed ominous to me. The first should be an indicator card, he went on, grabbing a white card with 4 squares marked on it and displaying it. The second is a 4-pronged applicator. He held up something that looked like a nearly toothless hairpick. And the third is a sterile knife opposite. He held up a small piece of blue plastic and split it open. The barb was invisible from this distance, but my stomach flipped. I'll be coming around with a drop of water to prepare your card, so please don't stop until I get to you. I began at Mike's table again.
Okay, run. Do it, come on!
The lad said. He grabbed Mike's hand and jabbed the spike into the tip of Mike's middle finger. Oh no! Clammy moisture broke out of his forehead. Put a small drop of blood on each of the prongs, he demonstrated, squeezing Mike's finger till the blood flowed. I swallowed convulsively, my stomach heaving. And then apply it to the card, he finished, holding up the dripping red card for us to see. I closed my eyes, trying to hear through the ringing in my ears. The Red Cross is having a blood drive in Port Angeles next weekend, so I thought you should all know your blood type. He sounded proud of himself. Those of you who aren't 18 yet will need a parent's permission. I have slips at my desk. He continued through the room with his water drops. I put my cheek against the cool black tabletop and tried to hold on to my consciousness. All around me I could hear squeals, complaints and giggles as my classmates skewered their fingers. He breathed slowly in and out through my mouth. Bella, are you all right? Mr. Banner asked. His voice was close to my head, and it sounded alarmed. I already know my blood type, Mr. Banner, I said in a weak voice. I was afraid to raise my head. Are you feeling faint? Yes, sir, I muttered, internally kicking myself for not ditching when I had the chance. Can someone take Bella to the nurse, please? He called.
Mike jumped.
I didn't have to look up to know that it would be Mike who volunteered.
Yeah, weird, huh?
Can you walk? Mr. Banner asked. Yes, I whispered. Just let me get out of here, I thought. I'll crawl. Mike seemed eager as he put his arm around my waist and pulled my arm over his shoulder. I leaned against him heavily on the way out of the classroom. Mike towed me slowly across campus. When we were around the edge of the cafeteria, out of sight of Building 4 in case Mr. Banner was watching, I stopped. Just let me sit for a minute, please, I begged. He helped me sit on the edge of the walk. And whatever you do, keep your hand in your pocket, I warned. I was still so dizzy. I slumped over on my side, putting my cheek against the freezing damp cement of the sidewalk, closing my eyes. That seemed to help a little. Wow, you're green, Bella, Mike said nervously. Bella? A different voice called from the distance. No! Please let me be imagining that horribly familiar voice. What's wrong? Is she hurt? His voice was closer now and he sounded upset. I wasn't imagining it. I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping to die, or at least not to throw up. Mike seemed stressed. I think she's fainted. I don't know what happened, she didn't even stick her finger. Bella. Edward's voice was right beside me, relieved now. Can you hear me? No, I groaned. Go away. He chuckled. I was taking her to the nurse, Mike explained in a defensive tone. She wouldn't go any farther. I'll take her, Edward said. I could hear the smile still in his voice. You can go back to class. No, Mike protested. I'm supposed to do it. Suddenly the sidewalk disappeared from beneath me. My eyes flew open in shock.
Ah,
Edward scooped me up in his arms, as easily as if I weighed 10 pounds instead of 110. Put me down!
huh.
Please, please let me not vomit on him. He was walking before I was finished talking. Hey, Mike called, already 10 paces behind us. Edward ignored him. You look awful, he told me, grinning. Put me back on the sidewalk, I moaned. The rocking movement of his walk was not helping. He held me away from his body gingerly, supporting all my weight with just his arms. It didn't seem to bother him. So you faint at the sight of blood? This seemed to entertain him. I didn't answer. I closed my eyes again and fought nausea with all my strength, clamping my lips together. Not even your own blood, he continued, enjoying himself. I don't know how he opened the door while carrying me, but it was suddenly warm, so I knew we were inside. Oh my, I heard a female voice gasp. She fainted in biology, Edward explained. I opened my eyes. I was in the office and Edward was striding past the front counter toward the nurse's door. Miss Cope, the red-headed front office receptionist, ran ahead of him to hold it open. The grandmotherly nurse looked up from a novel, astonished, as Edward swung me into the room and placed me gently on the crackly paper that covered the brown vinyl mattress on the one cot. Then he moved his hand against the wall as far across the narrow room as possible. His eyes were bright, excited. She's just a little faint, he reassured the startled nurse. Their
Have we
blood
gone?
type
No,
is
we have not.
biology. The nurse nodded sagely.
But I did dodge waterfowl a few times.
Just lie down for a minute, honey, it'll pass.
So.
I know, he said. The nausea was already fading. Does this happen a lot, she asked. Sometimes, I admitted. Edward coughed to hide another laugh. You can go back to class now, she told him. I'm supposed to stay with her. He said this with such assured authority that, even though she pursed her lips, the nurse didn't argue it further. I'll go get you some ice for your forehead, she said to me, and then bustled out of the room. You were right, I moaned, letting my eyes close. I usually am, but about what in particular this time? Ditching is healthy, I practiced breathing evenly. You scared me for a minute there, he admitted after a pause. His tone made it sound like he was confessing a humiliating weakness. I thought Newton was dragging your dead body off to bury it in the woods. I still had my eyes closed, but I was feeling more normal every minute. Honestly, I've seen corpses.
I need to dodge like closer in because I'm too close to the fourth hit. But yeah, otherwise there's not really been any problem in phase 1 other than waterfowl mostly and stupid mistakes. Like that.
Blade of Mikala.
Maybe the Twilight audiobook gives me strength.
With better colour. I was concerned that I might have to avenge your murder. Poor Mike, I'll bet he's mad. He absolutely loathes me, Edward said cheerfully. You can't know that, I argued. But then I wondered suddenly if he could. I saw his face. I could tell. How did you see me? I thought you were ditching. I was almost fine now, though the queasiness would probably pass faster if I'd eaten something for lunch. On the other hand, maybe it was lucky my stomach was empty. I was in my car listening to a CD. Such a normal response. It surprised me. I heard the door and opened my eyes to see the nurse with a cold compress in her hand. Here you go, dear. She laid it across my forehead. You're looking better, she added. I think I'm fine, I said, sitting up. Just a little ringing in my ears. Saw no spinning. The mint green walls stayed where they should. I could see she was about to make me lie back down, but the door opened just then, and Miss Cope stuck her head in. I've got another one, she warned. I hopped down to free up the cot for the next invalid. I handed the compress back to the nurse. Here, you don't need this. And then Mike staggered through the door, now supporting a sallow-looking Lee Stevens, another boy in our biology class. Edward and I drew back against the wall to give them room. Oh no, Edward muttered. Go out to the office, Bella. I looked up at him, bewildered. Trust me. Go. I spun and caught the door before it closed, darting out of the infirmary. I could feel Edward right behind me. You actually listened to me. I was stunned. I smelled the blood, I said.
Oh, I thought she was going for
Lee wasn't
waterfall.
sick from watching other people, like me. People can't smell blood, he contradicted. Well, I can. That's what makes me sick. It smells like rust and salt. He was staring at me with an unfathomable expression. What? I asked. It's nothing. Mike came through the door then, glancing from me to Edward. The look he gave Edward confirmed what Edward had said about loathing. He looked back at me, his eyes glum. You look better, he accused. Just keep your hand in your pocket, I warned him again. It's not bleeding anymore, he muttered. Are you going back to class? Are you kidding?
Oh.
I'd just have to turn around and come back. Yeah, I guess. So are you going this weekend? To the beach? While he spoke, he flashed another glare toward Edward, who was standing against the cluttered counter, motionless as a sculpture, staring off into space. I tried to sound as friendly as possible. Sure, I said I was in. We're meeting at my dad's store at 10. His eyes flickered to Edward again, wondering if he was giving out too much information. His body language made it clear that it wasn't an open invitation. I'll be there, I promised. I'll see you in gym then, he said, moving uncertainly toward the door. See you, I replied. He looked at me once more, his round face slightly pouting, and then, as he walked slowly through the door, his shoulders slumped. A swell of sympathy washed over me. I pondered seeing his disappointed face again. In gym. Gym, I groaned. I can take care of that. I hadn't noticed Edward moving to my side, but he spoke now in my ear. Go sit down and look pale, he muttered. That wasn't a challenge. I was always pale, and my recent swoon had left a light sheen of sweat on my face. I sat in one of the creaky folding chairs and rested my head against the wall with my eyes closed. Fainting spells always exhausted me. I heard Edward speaking softly at the counter. Ms. Cope? Yes, I hadn't heard her return to her desk. Bella has gym next hour, and I don't think she feels well enough. Actually, I was thinking I should take her home now. Do you think you could excuse her from class? His voice was like melting honey. I could imagine how much more overwhelming his eyes would be. Do you need to be excused too, Edward? Miss Cope fluttered. Why couldn't I do that? No, I have Mrs. Goff. She won't mind. Okay, it's all taken care of. You feel better, Bella, she used me. I nodded weakly, hamming it up just a bit. Can you walk? Or do you want me to carry you again? With his back to the receptionist, his expression became sarcastic. I'll walk. I stood carefully, and I was still fine. He held the door for me, his smile polite but his eyes mocking. I walked out into the cold, fine mist that had just begun to fall. It felt nice, the first time I'd enjoyed the constant moisture falling out of the sky, as it washed my face clean of the sticky perspiration. Thanks, I said as he followed me out. It's almost worth getting sick to miss Jim. Anytime. He was staring straight forward, squinting into the rain. So are you going? Saturday. I was hoping he would, though it seemed unlikely. He couldn't picture him loading up to carpool with the rest of the kids from school. He didn't belong in the same world. But just hoping that he might give me the first twinge of enthusiasm I'd felt for the outing. Where are you all going exactly? He was still looking ahead, expressionless. Down to La Push, to First Beach. I studied his face, strangely fit. His eyes seemed to narrow infinitesimally. He glanced down at me from the corner of his eye, smiling wryly. I really don't think I was invited, I sighed. I just invited you. Let's you and I not push poor Mike any further this week. We don't want him to snap. His eyes danced. He was enjoying the idea more than he should. Mike Schmike, I muttered, preoccupied by the way he said, you and I. I liked it more than I should. We were near the parking lot now. I veered left toward my truck. Something caught my jacket, yanking me back. Where do you think you're going? He asked, outraged. He was gripping a fistful of my jacket in one hand. I was confused. I'm going home. Didn't you hear me promise to take you safely home? Do you think I'm going to let you drive in your condition? His voice was still indignant. What condition? And what about my truck? I replied. I'll have Alice drop it off after school. He was towing me toward his car now, pulling me by my jacket. It was all I could do to keep from falling backward. He'd probably just drag me along anyway if I did. Let go, I insisted. He ignored me. I staggered along sideways across the wet sidewalk until we reached the Volvo. Then he finally against the passenger door. You're so pushy, I grumbled. It's open, was all he responded. He got in the driver's side. I am perfectly capable of driving myself home. I stood by the car, fuming. It was raining harder now, and I'd never put my hood up, so my hair was dripping down my back. He lowered the automatic window and leaned toward me across the seat. Get in, Bella. I didn't answer. I was mentally calculating my chances of reaching the truck before he could catch me. I had to admit they weren't good. I'll just drag you back, he threatened, guessing my plan. I tried to maintain what dignity I could as I got into his car. I wasn't very successful. I looked like a half-drowned cat and my boots squeaked. This is completely unnecessary, I said stiffly. He didn't answer. He fiddled with the controls, turning the heater up and the music down. As he pulled out of the parking lot, I was preparing to give him the silent treatment, my face in full pout mode. But then I recognized the music playing, and my curiosity got the better of my intentions. Claire de Lune? I asked, surprised. You know Debussy? He sounded surprised too. Not well, I admitted. My mother plays a lot of classical music around the house. I only know my favourites. It's one of my favourites too. He stared out through the rain, lost in thought. I listened to the music, relaxing against the light grey leather seat. It was impossible not to respond to the familiar soothing melody. The rain blurred everything outside the window into grey and green smudges.
This is great, actually. I really like this.
I began to realize we were driving very fast. The car moved so steadily, so evenly, though. I didn't feel the speed. Only the town flashing by gave it away. "What is your mother like?" he asked me suddenly. I glanced over to see him studying me with curious eyes. "She looks a lot like me." "But she's prettier," I said. He raised his eyebrows. "I have too much Charlie in me. She's more outgoing than I am, and braver. She's irresponsible and slightly eccentric, and she's a very unpredictable cook. She's my best friend." I stopped. Talking about her was making me depressed. "How old are you, Bella?" His voice sounded frustrated for some reason I couldn't imagine. He'd stopped the car and I realised we were at Charlie's house already. The rain was so heavy that I could barely see the house at all. It was like the car was submerged under a river. "I'm 17, I responded, a little confused. "You don't seem 17. His tone was reproachful. It made me laugh. "What?" he asked, curious again. "My mom always says I was born 35 years old and that I get more middle-aged every year." I laughed and then sighed. Well, someone has to be the adult. I paused for a second. "You don't seem much like a junior in high school yourself," I noted. He made a face and changed the subject. "So why did your mother marry Phil?" I was surprised he would remember the name. I'd mentioned it just once, almost 2 months ago. It took me a moment to answer. "My mother. She's very young for her age. I think Phil makes her feel even younger. At any rate, she's crazy about him." I shook my head. The attraction was a mystery to me. "Do you approve?" he asked. "Does it matter?" I countered. "I want her to be happy. He is who she wants." "That's very generous. I wonder," he mused. "What? Would she extend the same courtesy to you, do you think, no matter who your choice was?" He was suddenly intent, his eyes searching mine. I think so," I stuttered. "But she's the parent, after all. It's a little bit different." "No one too scary then," he teased. I grinned in response. "What do you mean by scary? Multiple facial piercings and extensive tattoos. That's one definition, I suppose. What's your definition?" But he ignored my question and asked me another. "Do you think that I could be scary?" He raised one eyebrow and the faint trace of a smile lightened his face. I thought for a moment, wondering whether the truth or a lie would go over better. I decided to go with the truth. I think you could be, if you wanted to. Are you frightened of me now?" The smile vanished, and his heavenly face was suddenly serious. "No." But I answered too quickly. The smile returned. "So, now you're going to tell me about your family?" I asked to distract him. It's got to be a much more interesting story than mine. He was instantly cautious. "What do you want to know?" "The Cullens adopted you," I verified. "Yes." I hesitated for a moment. "What happened to your parents?"
Sorry, I was just texting. My bad. Sorry, Melania. My bad. Homeboy. you not dead?
Blade of Mikala.
Honestly, the timing of this song was perfect. That was amazing. That was awesome. Okay.
They died many years ago. His tone was matter of fact. I'm sorry, I mumbled. I don't really remember them that clearly. Carlisle and Esme have been my parents for a long time now. And you love them. It wasn't a question. It was obvious in the way he spoke of them. Yes, he smiled. I couldn't imagine two better people. You're very lucky. I know I am. And your brother and sister? He glanced at the clock on the dashboard. My brother and sister, and Jasper and Rosalie for that matter, are going to be quite upset if they have to stand in the rain and wait for me. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I guess you have to go. I didn't want to get out of the car. And you probably want your truck back before Chief Swan gets home, so you don't have to tell him about the biology incident. He grinned at me. I'm sure he's already heard. There are no secrets in Forks. I sighed. He laughed, and there was an edge to his laugh.
Got greedy.
Have fun at the beach. Good weather for sunbathing. He glanced out at the sheeting rain. Won't I see you tomorrow? No. Emmett and I are starting the weekend early. What are you going to do? A friend could ask that, right? I hope the disappointment wasn't too apparent in my voice. We're going to be hiking in the Goat Rocks wilderness just south of Rainier. I remembered Charlie had said the Cullens went camping frequently. Oh, well, have fun. I tried to sound enthusiastic. I don't think I fooled him, though. A smile was playing around the edges of his lips. Will you do something for me this weekend? He turned to look me straight in the face, utilising the full power of his burning old eyes. I nodded. Don't be offended. You seem to be one of those people who just attract accidents like a magnet. So, try not to fall into the ocean or get run over or anything, all right? He smiled crookedly. The helplessness had faded as he spoke. I glared at him. I'll see what I can do, I snapped as I jumped out into the rain. I slammed the door behind me with excessive force. I was still smiling as he drove away. Scary stories. As I sat in my room, trying to concentrate on the third act of Macbeth, I was really listening for my truck. I would have thought, even over the pounding rain, I could have heard the engine roar. When I went to peek out the curtain, again, it was suddenly there. I wasn't looking forward to Friday, and it more than lived up to my non-expectations. Of course there were the fainting comments. Jessica especially seemed to get a kick out of that story. Luckily Mike had kept his mouth shut and no one seemed to know about Edward's involvement. She did have a lot of questions about lunch though. So what did Edward Cullen want yesterday? Jessica asked intrigued. I don't know, I answered truthfully. He never really got to the point. You looked kind of mad, she fished. Did I? I kept my expression blank. You know, I'd never seen him sit with anyone but his family before. That was weird. Weird, I agreed. She seemed annoyed. She flipped her dark curls impatiently. I guessed she'd been hoping to hear something that would make a good story for her to pass on. The worst part about Friday was that, even though I knew he wasn't going to be there, I still hoped. When I walked into the cafeteria with Jessica and Mike, I couldn't keep from looking at his table, where Rosalie, Alice and Jasper sat talking, heads close together. And I couldn't stop the gloom that engulfed me as I realised I didn't know how long I would have to wait before I saw him again. At my usual table, everyone was full of our plans for the next day. Mike was animated again, putting a great deal of trust in the local weatherman who promised sun tomorrow. I'd have to see that before I believed it. But it was warmer today. Almost 60. Maybe the outing wouldn't be completely miserable. I intercepted a few unfriendly glances from Lauren during lunch, which I didn't understand until we were all walking out of the room together. I was right behind her, just a foot from her slick silver blonde hair, and she was evidently unaware of that. Don't know why Bella, she sneered. Doesn't just sit with the Cullens from now on. I heard her muttering to Mike. I'd never noticed what an unpleasant nasal voice she had, and I was surprised by the malice in it. really didn't know her well at all, certainly not well enough for her to dislike me, or so I thought. She's my friend. She sits with us, Mike whispered back loyally, but also a bit territorially. I paused to let Jess and Angela pass me.
What is he, a
didn't
dog,
want to
man?
hear
What do you mean
anymore.
territorially?
That night at dinner, Charlie seemed enthusiastic about my trip to La Push in the morning. I think he felt guilty for leaving me home alone on the weekends, but he'd spent too many years building his habits to break them now. Of course he knew the names of all the kids going, and their parents, and their great-grandparents too, probably. He seemed to approve. I wondered if he would approve of my plan to ride to Seattle with Edward Cullen. Not that I was going to tell him. Dad, do you know a place called Goat Rocks or something like that? I think it's south of Mount Rainier, I asked casually. Yeah, why? I shrugged. Some kids were talking about camping there. It's not a very good place for camping, he sounded surprised. Too many bears. Most people go there during the hunting season. Oh, I murmured. Maybe I got the name wrong. I meant to sleep in, but an unusual brightness woke me. I opened my eyes to see a clear
Called the
yellow
sun.
light stream through my window. I couldn't believe it. I hurried to the window to check, and sure enough, there was the sun. It was in the wrong place in the sky, too low, and it didn't seem to be as close as it should be. But it was definitely the sun. Clouds ringed the horizon, and a large patch of blue was visible in the middle. I lingered by the window as long as I could, afraid that if I left, the blue would disappear again. The Newton's Olympic Outfitters store was just north of town. I'd seen the store.
You and your mullet need to do better. What did he do? What? Why is he tweaking, man? Why is he tweaking?
But I'd never stopped there, not having much need for any supplies required for being outdoors over an extended period of time. In the parking lot, I recognised Mike's Suburban and Tyler's Sentra. As I pulled up next to their vehicles, I could see the group standing around in front of the Suburban. Eric was there, along with two other boys I had class with. I was fairly sure their names were Ben and Connor. Jess was there, flanked by Angela and Lauren. Three other girls stood with them, including one I remembered falling over in gym on Friday. That one gave me a dirty look as I got out of the truck and whispered something to Lauren. Lauren shook out her corn-silk hair and eyed me scornfully. So it was going to be one of those days. At least Mike was happy to see me. You came, he called.
Why are you
delighted.
going with
And I
these
said it would
people?
be sunny today, didn't I? I told you I was coming, I reminded him. We're just waiting for Lee and Samantha. Unless you invited someone, Mike added. Nope, I lied lightly, hoping I wouldn't get caught in the lie. But also wishing that a miracle would occur and Edward would appear. Mike looked satisfied. Will you ride in my car? It's that, or Lee's mom's minivan. Sure. He smiled blissfully. It was so easy to make Mike happy. You can have shotgun, he promised. I hid my chagrin. It wasn't as simple to make Mike and Jessica happy at the same time. I could see Jessica glowering at us now. The numbers worked out in my favour though. Lee brought 2 extra people, and suddenly every seat was necessary. I managed to wedge Jess in between Mike and me in the front seat of the Suburban. Mike could have been more graceful about it, but at least Jess seemed appeased. It was only 15 miles to La Push from Forks, with gorgeous dense green forests edging the road most of the way, and the wide Quileute River snaking beneath it twice. I was glad I had the window seat. If we'd rolled the windows down, the Suburban was a bit claustrophobic with 9 people in it. I tried to absorb as much sunlight as possible. I'd been to the beaches around La Push many times during my Forks summers with Charlie, so the mile-long crescent of First Beach was familiar to me. It was still breathtaking. The water was dark grey, even in the sunlight, white caps heaving to the grey, rocky shore. Islands rose out of the steel harbour waters with sheer cliff sides, reaching to uneven summits and crowned with austere, soaring firs. The beach had only a thin border of actual sand at the water's edge, after which it grew into millions of large, smooth stones that looked uniformly grey from a distance. Close up were every shade a stone could be. Terracotta, sea green, and lavender, was blue-grey, dull golden. The tide line was strewn with huge driftwood trees, bleached bone white in the salt waves, some piled together against the edge of the forest fringe, some lying solitary, just out of reach of the waves. There was a brisk wind coming off the waves, cool and grimy. Pelicans floated on the
Ow!
swells, seagulls and a lone eagle wheeled above them. The clouds still circled the sky, threatening to invade at any moment, but for now the sun shone bravely in its halo of blue sky. We picked our way down to the beach, Mike leading the way to a ring of driftwood logs that had obviously been used for parties like ours before. There was a fire circle already in place, filled with black ashes. Eric and the boy I thought was named Ben gathered broken branches of driftwood from the drier piles against the forest edge, and soon had a teepee-shaped construction built atop the old cinders. "Have you ever seen a driftwood fire?" Mike asked me. I was sitting on one of the bone-coloured benches. The other girls clustered, gossiping excitedly on either side of me. Mike kneeled by the fire, lighting one of the smaller sticks with a cigarette lighter. "No," I said, as he placed the blazing twig carefully against the teepee. "You'll like this then. Watch the colours." He lit another small branch and laid it alongside the first. The flame started to lick quickly up the dry wood. "It's blue," I said in surprise. "The salt does it. Pretty, isn't it?" He lit one more piece, placed it where the fire hadn't yet caught, and then came to sit by me. Thankfully, Jess was on his other side. She turned to him and caught his attention. I watched the strange blue and green flames crackle toward the sky. After a half hour of chatter, some of the boys wanted to hike to the nearby tidal pools. It was a dilemma. On the one hand, I loved the tide pools. They had fascinated me since I was a child. They were one of the only things I ever looked forward to when I had to come to Forks. On the other hand, I'd also fallen into them a lot. Not a big deal when you're 7 and with your dad. It reminded me of Edward's request, that I not fall into the ocean. Lauren was the one who made my decision for me. She didn't want to hike, and she was definitely wearing the wrong shoes for it. Most of the other girls, besides Angela and Jessica, decided to stay on the beach as well. I waited until Tyler and Eric had committed to remaining with them before I got up quietly to join the pro-hiking group. Mike gave me a huge smile when he saw that I was coming. The hike wasn't too long, though I hated to lose the sky in the woods. The green light of the forest was strangely at odds with the adolescent laughter. Two mermaids
that was...
to be in harmony with
My
the
nose
laughter
was itchy.
I had to watch each step I took very carefully, avoiding roots below and branches above, and I soon fell behind. Eventually I broke through the emerald confines of the forest and found the rocky shore again. It was a low tide, and a tidal river flowed past us on its way to the sea. Along its pebbled banks, shallow pools that never completely drained were teeming with life. I was very cautious not to lean too far over the little ocean ponds. The others were fearless, leaping over the rocks, perching precariously on the edges. I found a very stable-looking rock on the fringe of one of the largest pools and sat there cautiously, spellbound by the natural aquarium below me. The bouquets of brilliant anemones undulated ceaselessly in the invisible current.
What is undulating? What is happening, man? What is happening? What?
Twisted shells scurried about the edges,
Man, I want
obscuring
Claire
the
de Lune
crabs
again.
within them. Starfish stuck motionless to the rocks and each other, while one small black eel with white racing stripes wove through the bright green weeds, waiting for the sea to return. I was completely absorbed, except for one small part of my mind that wondered what Edward was doing now, and trying to imagine what he would be saying if he were here with me. Finally, the boys were hungry, and I got up stiffly to follow them back. I tried to keep up better this time through the woods, so naturally I fell a few times. I got some shallow scrapes on my palms, and the knees of my jeans were stained green, but it could have been worse. When we got back to First Beach, the group we were multiplied. As we got closer, we could see the shining, straight black hair and copper skin of the newcomers, teenagers from the reservation come to socialise. The food was already being passed around, and the boys hurried to claim a share while Eric introduced us as we each entered the driftwood circle. Angela and I were the last to arrive, and as Eric said our names, I noticed a younger boy sitting on the stones near the fire glance up at me in interest. I sat down next to Angela, and Mike brought us sandwiches and an array of sodas to choose from. while a boy who looked to be the oldest of the visitors rattled off the names of the 7 others.
Come
All I
on!
thought was that one of the girls was also named Jessica, and the boy who noticed me was named Jacob. It was relaxing.
Oh,
to sit with
Jacob!
Angela.
Isn't that guy? Isn't that the werewolf guy? Let's go!
She was a restful kind of person to be around. She didn't feel the need to fill every silence with chatter. She left me free to think undisturbed while we ate. And I was thinking about how disjointedly time seemed to flow in Forks, passing in a blur at times with single images standing out more clearly than others. And then, at other times, every second was significant, etched in my mind. I knew exactly what caused the difference, and it disturbed me. During lunch, the clouds started to advance, slinking across the blue sky, darting in front of the sun momentarily, casting long shadows across the beach and blackening the waves. As they finished eating, people started to drift away in 2s and 3s. Some walked down to the edge of the waves, trying to skip rocks across the choppy surface. Others were gathering a second expedition to the tide pools. Mike, with Jessica shadowing him, headed up to the one shop in the village. Some of the local kids went with them, others went along on a hike. By the time they all had scattered, I was sitting alone on my driftwood log, with Lauren and Tyler occupying themselves by the CD player someone had thought to bring, and 3 teenagers from the reservation perched around the circle, including the boy named Jacob, and the oldest boy who had acted as spokesperson. A few minutes after Angela left with the hikers, Jacob sauntered over to take her place by my side. He looked 14, 15, and had long, glossy black hair pulled back with a rubber band at the nape of his neck. His skin was beautiful, silky and russet-coloured. His eyes were dark, set deep above the high planes of his cheekbones. He still had just a hint of childish roundness left around his chin. Altogether, a very pretty face. However, my positive opinion of his looks was damaged by the first words out of his mouth. "You're Isabella Swan, aren't you?" It was like the first day of school all over again. "Bella," I sighed. "I'm Jacob Black." He held his hand out in a friendly gesture. "You bought my dad's truck." "Oh," I said, relieved, shaking his sleek hand. "You're Billy's son. I probably should remember you." "No. I'm the youngest of the family. You would remember my older sisters." "Rachel and Rebecca," I suddenly recalled. "Charlie and Billy had thrown us together a lot during my visits, to keep us busy while they fished. We were all too shy to make much progress as friends. Of course, I'd kicked up enough tantrums to end the fishing trips by the time I was 11. "Are they here?" I examined the girls at the ocean's edge, wondering if I would recognise them now. "No," Jacob shook his head. "Rachel got a scholarship to Washington State, and Rebecca married a Samoan surfer. She lives in Hawaii now." "Married? Wow." I was stunned. The twins were only a little over a year older than I was. "So how do you like the truck?" he asked. "I love it. I want to wait." "Yeah, but it's really slow," he laughed. I was so relieved when Charlie bought it. "My dad wouldn't let me work on building another car when we had a perfectly good vehicle right there." "It's not that slow," I objected. "Have you tried to go over 60? "No," I admitted. "Good. Don't," he grinned. I couldn't help grinning back. "It does great in a collision," I offered in my truck's defence. "I don't think a tank could take out that old monster," he agreed with another laugh. "So you build cars?" I asked, impressed. "When I have free time and parts. You wouldn't happen to know where I could get my hands on a master cylinder for a 1986 Volkswagen Rabbit?"
Yeah, man, yeah, just have that
He had a
lying
pleasant,
around.
husky voice. "Sorry," I laughed. "I haven't seen any lately, but I'll keep my eyes open for you." As if I knew what that was. It was very easy to talk with. He flashed a brilliant smile, looking at me appreciatively in a way I was learning to recognise. I wasn't the only one who noticed. "You know Bella, Jacob?" Lauren asked, in what I imagined was an insolent tone, from across the fire. "We've sort of known each other since I was born," he laughed, smiling at me again. "How nice." She didn't sound like she thought it was nice at all, and her pale, fishy eyes narrowed. "Bella," she called again, touching my face carefully. "I was just saying to Tyler that it was too bad none of the trainers could come out today. Didn't anyone think to invite them?" Her expression of concern was unconvincing. "You mean Dr. Carlisle Cullen's family?" the tall older boy asked before I could respond, to Lauren's irritation. He was really closer to a man than a boy, and his voice was very deep. Yes.
I don't know what was happening, but something was happening, man. Something was happening. Claire de Lune. I think Claire de Lune gave me a buff, man. Let's see. Oh! Oh! Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Uh, Moonlight Sonata.
Blade of Mikola. Blade of Mikola. Blade of
I
Mikola.
hate that move. Nothing, nothing. Wow.
Blade of Mikola.
It's that move every single time. It's that move every single time.
Nothing. I was just looking at him. He was very sweet.
Blade of Blade of Nicola.
Basic weaponry, pride of Legolas. Uh, huh. I've done that. Oh, okay. Jeez, slap. These are boring.
Blade of Nicola. Blade of Nicola.
Ah, audio streams current bitrate. What is my audio stream? That's the same damn thing, man. Waterfall? No.
Blade of Nicola.
I was just looking on my second monitor and playing. That was fun.
Blade. I am Melania, Blade of Nicola.
Let's try the up close dodge. Or not.
Blade of Nicola.
See you guys tomorrow.